Welcome to Tapping Vegas. We are breaking down the Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady fight today. We had a very profitable week last week. We're hoping to carry it into this week. And Bobby, let's not even waste any time about it. We're going to give you 5 of the fights that we think you guys can make money on this week. Bobby, take this first fight away, man.
Yeah, so first fight we have here, we have Felipe Dos Santos. Felipe Dos Santos is going up against Andre Lima. And it's going to be an interesting fight. Andre Lima is currently on a two fight win streak in the UFC. Got his Contender Series contract October last year. You remember he was the guy who was bit back in March of this year. He actually won because his opponent bit the fuck out of him. So that's how he got that win. Is very interesting. Like straight up teeth marks left on his tricep, I believe it was. Split decision win Lima has over Mitch Raposo. He's got the unanimous decision win to get his contract on Contender Series, got the biting win. So not much to go off of in the UFC. Only has one loss total since he's been competing. Lima's been a pro since 2019. Doing some kickboxing primarily is how he got his start. Transition to MMA, it looks like around 2022. So hasn't been doing pure MMA. Hasn't been mixing it up with MMA very long. Started out primarily as a kickboxer, but it's not really too hard nowadays for guys to make the transition to MMA. And, for him to do that and only have lost one fight since then, and that was a pure Muay Thai match in 2023. Pretty good indication that he's, potentially getting the ropes down of how MMA functions and everything. Kickboxing's a good base. He just has to brush up on his grappling, but it's not going to be a problem, I feel like, in this fight with Felipe Dos Santos, because Felipe Dos Santos does have 3 submission wins on his resume, but he also has 25% of his wins, so 2 of those by KO, TKO. In his UFC career, he lost his debut to Manel Kopp. Won February of this year, a split decision against Victor Altamirano. So not much to go off of from him either. His triangle choke win and his armbar win and his guillotine win were all on the regional scene. So it's kind of hard for me to know if that's going to translate to the UFC because, fighters come into the UFC all the time. They have trouble transitioning to the UFC, and so sometimes their finishing power, whether it comes to the KOs, TKOs, or the subs, doesn't necessarily translate. It's harder to finish these fighters, things of that nature. So I think this is going to be primarily a striking affair between Dos Santos and Lima. I think they're going to want to keep it standing. They're going to try to keep it entertaining. They're both going to go back and forth, especially Lima having that kickboxing background and that Muay Thai background that he has, wanting to primarily strike. If anybody does initiate the grappling, it'll be Dos Santos since he does have those regional scene sub wins on his record, but I just don't think he's going to want to initiate it unless he's just really getting pieced up on the feet. But overall, it's not how I see it playing out. Not a significant age difference between the two guys, not a significant height difference. The reach is almost identical. I mean, it slightly favors Dos Santos by 3 inches. It's not crazy, but yeah, I'm just going to go. Let's see. Right now, DraftKings has Dos Santos as a plus 142. Lima's the minus 170 on this. So actually, I'm going to go with Dos Santos on this as the underdog at the plus 142 because I actually think now that I see that, that's his avenue to victory. So I'm hoping that Dos Santos does try to grapple. I'm hoping Dos Santos does initiate the clinch, does initiate some takedowns, and does take advantage of the fact that Lima's primarily a kickboxer and a striker and tries to negate that advantage he has there with some takedowns and trying to hunt for some subs. And maybe he gets his first UFC sub. I'll actually change my opinion on that a little bit, seeing how I feel like this should be a pick'em, and Dos Santos is a pretty decent dog there. So I don't know that I'm going to be bold enough to outright say Dos Santos by sub. I'm just going to roll with Dos Santos money line. What do you got?
Well, Vegas is on Dos Santos. A lot of the people I've been watching, they're on Dos Santos. I thought I would be, and then after I watched their fights, I just was so underwhelmed with Dos Santos. I think Lima's got better cardio management. He always stays in good position, and I just think he's going to be stronger, and he's going to be able to negate those takedown attempts. If Dos Santos is able to take this to the ground, I don't see Lima being able to keep up with him there. Maybe, like you said, Dos Santos gets the sub. I'm just really hoping that he's able to stay upright, get to the cage, and then fight out of the takedown and keep it standing. Dos Santos totally has his avenue to win, like you're saying. That is how he's going to do it. I just think Lima's going to be able to stay up in this fight. He's got good striking defense and good. He's got really crippling kicks. Like, he was buckling guys with some of these leg kicks that he has. I just think if he's able to eat up Dos Santos' legs, then he's got that avenue to win just by staying up and just banging with him. If it goes to decision, I like Lima a lot in this one. But like you said, it's a nasty minus 170, so I don't blame you for taking Dos Santos at a plus money bet and on the side of Vegas, so I don't hate that at all. Moving on to the next fight, we've got Yanal Ashmouz versus Trevor Peek. We're both Peek guys, which is hard to find any Peek guys out there. But unfortunately, I think that the biggest thing that is a positive for Peek is also a really big positive for Ashmouz. They're both just super durable. I mean, Peek is so hard to put out. He just keeps coming at you. Ashmouz broke his arm and he still kept fighting. I believe it was Chris Duncan with a broken arm. And I mean, he was really taking it to him too. He held his own. I think Ashmouz has better technique. He has dangerous kicks. 23% of sharp money is coming in on Ashmouz. Vegas is on the Peek side, but I just think I have to be with the sharp money, and you're getting Ashmouz at a plus 105. As much as I like Peek, I don't think I can take Peek as a favorite. What side are you on, Bobby?
Peek really concerned me by getting his ass kicked by Charlie Campbell in his last fight. I'm really not trying to use MMA math, but I was on Peek for that fight, and I had talked about all the tape I watched on both guys. And how Charlie Campbell is just absolutely bizarre, just a very strange fighter. I felt he was very amateurish and very just not sound, just very goofy, just a lot of negative things you can say about a fighter. It was pretty much everything you could say about Charlie Campbell. Just such a meme. And I was not at all happy this past April when Charlie Campbell took him to a unanimous decision beatdown. I was absolutely baffled and floored by that. Maybe I'm going to overcorrect here and make a mistake by being on Ashmouz, but until further notice, until I see some signs of life out of Peek, I've got to stay away because that is just kind of unforgivable to me to lose to Charlie Campbell. I can forgive Shepe Mariscal. I can't forgive Charlie Campbell, and I know it's only his second loss, point blank period since he's been a pro. He's 9-2 right now. But that now puts him in the UFC as 2-2 in the UFC right now. And this is a make or break fight for him. And if he loses this, unfortunately, I think the skid continues and he won't be in the UFC much longer. Yeah. So, if I'm able to get Ashmouz at an underdog at plus 105 currently, I'm all about that. And I'm not confident enough to put any money on any props. I'll just gladly take the money line as well.
I love it. Let's get into the third fight, Bobby. Take it away.
All right, so the third fight we have here is we have an exciting fight that is going to be between Steve Garcia and Kyle Nelson. So Kyle Nelson's an interesting guy. I've kind of been following him for a while now. And I think he has a brother that also competes. I could be wrong, but there's another Nelson, I believe, that fights with him. But Kyle Nelson's doing pretty decent for himself in the UFC now. He's kind of on a 3-fight win streak at the moment. He's been in the UFC longer than you would expect. He's been around since 2018 now, had a rough debut against Diego Ferreira. No shame in losing to Diego Ferreira, especially in your debut in round 2 by ground and pound. Lost to Matt Sells, got choked out May of 2019. Rebounded against Polo Reyes, then lost to Billy Quarantillo, lost to Jai Herbert. The Quarantillo loss was in 2020. He took some time off, lost to Herbert 2 years later, July 2022. Since then, he's rebounded. June last year, beat Blake Builder. September last year, beat Fernando Padilla, beat Bill Algeo. March of this year, finished him with punches in a knee in round 1. So maybe he's experiencing a career resurgence. Maybe he had to go through those 4 losses in the UFC, and that is just brutal to come back from. So that's actually a huge indication of some heart and some mental fortitude to be able to come back from your first 4 fights in the UFC. You just lose everything. You lose the debut and then the next 3, and to be able to turn around and have the opportunity to go on a 3-fight win streak is huge because most people would be cut. So that is very impressive for him to be able to do. However, going up against Steve Garcia, of course, the question is, can he continue? Can he make it 4 in a row? He lost 4. Can he win 4? I don't know. I don't know about Steve Garcia because Steve Garcia beat Sung Woo Choi July of this year, punches in round 1. Melchizedek Costa, a guy with a lot of hype behind him. Round 2, he finished Melchizedek Costa, a guy who I thought was looking pretty decent in his young career in the UFC. I'm not really sure who Shailin Nurabeki or whatever from April last year is. Obviously, I'm very impressed that he KO'd Chase Hooper 2 years ago, October, with left hook and ground punches. Not really sure who. Well, I've heard of Mahashate Hayasar, actually. I've heard of him, but don't even honestly know if he's in the UFC. So he's another guy who's been around for a while, 4 years now. Lost to Luis Pena in his debut. I'm excusing it just because it's his debut, because Luis Pena was absolutely garbage in his time with the UFC. I'm just going to chalk that up to nerves because he's beaten good people since then, and he's only lost 1 fight in the UFC since then. So he's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 wins, 2 losses over some pretty decent competition, especially Hooper, Sung Woo Choi, and Costa. He's riding some momentum. Unfortunately, even though I believe he's going to be the favorite, I have to check. I can't go with Nelson on this. Yeah, so Nelson's plus 154, Garcia's minus 185. Unfortunately, I have to roll with Garcia on this. Once again, I don't know if I'm feeling confident enough to go with a finish. Actually, punches, ground and pound, uppercut. You know what? I'm going to say since he has so many KO, TKO finishes, I might. Let me see if Kyle Nelson's susceptible to that. But, yeah, I'm not going on the money line with Kyle Nelson. Let's just say that. Kyle Nelson, great. You're turning your career around, but you're going up against a guy who has also turned their career around and done so in a far more impressive way than you have. So I'm a little bit concerned. He is susceptible to getting finished by strikes. He also has been subbed before, but I'm going to say Steve Garcia gets it done and to take the edge off that money line. If there's anybody on this card who I believe would be able to do that, I think it's Steve Garcia. I think it's in this matchup. And then just to say Steve Garcia straight, but oh, well, never mind. Vegas sees it how I see it because they have Steve Garcia by KO TKO at a minus 135. So maybe I could do KO TKO decision to take the edge off that, and if the odds on that are good, I'll roll with that to take the edge off the money line. What are you thinking?
I watched that last Garcia fight. He's got no defense and swings wild. Like, if you were just to clip him and the other fighter and put them on like a high school, like behind the school, I would believe that's a true high school fight. Like, there was just no technique by either guy. They both were just heads down, swinging wild. I was not impressed with him. I think that he's going to get knocked out by anybody that can, if they have power and they catch him, because he is so catchable. He was just getting clobbered by this other guy. But Garcia was doing the clobbering as well, and he ended up catching him and finishing him. But if anybody can block his shots and take advantage of him, I just think that he's so ripe for the pickings. I'm not going to take the KO with Garcia. I'm not going to take the KO with Nelson just because I can already get him at plus 154 with a money line. It looks like there's a lot of money coming in on Garcia, so Vegas is also on the side of Nelson. So I'm going to take Nelson at the plus money, man.
Oh, well, if they're on the side of I'm going to stay with Garcia. I'll stay with Garcia.
All right.
Just to be different with it, fuck it. I'll just ball out with it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. I'll just go with Garcia.
Just stay spicy.
Yeah.
All right, man. This next fight is the co-main event. We got Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. I don't have a ton on this fight. I think it probably goes to decision, and I think that Natalia Silva is going to be able to control the range, and Vegas and the public are both on the side of Silva, which you rarely see. But you get that because she's minus 310, so you can have a whole bunch of money on Garcia, and still you're only paying on a third of it. People are trying to take advantage of the Andrade because she's done it before. She's beaten these big names. We've taken advantage of Andrade before. But I'm going to take Natalia Silva, and to take the sting off, I'm going to take her by decision at plus 100. So I'm getting Silva at plus money. It's just you're making back plus 100, but I think that's the way I'm going in this fight. What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, as much as I like making money off Jessica Andrade and hitting on huge like plus 350s or whatever it was when she knocked out Mackenzie Dern, it always is
450.
a 450. There we go, even better.
Yeah.
It's always a dangerous proposition, though, at this stage of Andrade's career to roll with her with that level of commitment. Obviously, time is the enemy. You don't get better in this sport, unfortunately, with time unless you're a very rare individual. There's only a few people who've gotten better. Most of them, unfortunately, decline. And I don't think Andrade is going to be one of those individuals that, makes a huge improv to her game that just really helps out. Even though she beat my girl Marina Rodriguez this past April and knocked out Mackenzie Dern before that, in which we hit on that nice little plus line. She was on a 3-fight skid before then and had been finished in all 3 fights. So it was nice to be able to take advantage of that going into the Dern fight, but I don't feel like I'm going to be able to take advantage of her nice little 2-fight win streak that she's on going into this fight because I think it's going to start another skid for her. She's 26-12, got a lot of miles. She's 32 years old. Natalia Silva's been in there with top-level competitions like Viviana Araujo, Andrea Lee, Jasmine Jusovicius. She's fought Marina Rodriguez and lost to her on the regional scene, so I'm not going to put too much stock into that. But, since she's been in the UFC, she has been on a 5-fight win streak, 2 of those by finish. It just seems like it's her time. She's 27, not a lot of miles, 17-5-1. Seems like she's on the ascension. Like you said, if you can get the decision to take the edge off a little bit and it's the side of Vegas, yeah, I think that'll help take the edge off, help make us profitable. I think that's how I'm rolling.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Take us away with this main fight.
Yeah, main event, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady. Gilbert Burns plus 154. Sean Brady minus 185 according to DraftKings. I know a lot's been made of Sean Brady's grappling. I get that he submitted Kelvin Gastelum. I understand all these things, but I really think this is going to be a y'all must have forgot performance by Gilbert Burns. I like both guys quite a bit. I can respect both guys quite a bit. I think when it comes to the striking, there's not really much that's like a separator there. To me, for their striking, Gilbert Burns is maybe less technical than Brady. Brady maybe has the edge in the technical aspect, but in terms of power, I'm definitely thinking that Gilbert Burns has the power. As far as grappling, that's another thing where there's levels to this. Yes, Sean Brady is a good grappler. Yes, he was able to submit, Kelvin Gastelum, for example, but Gilbert Burns is a world-class grappler. The guy is an ADCC champion level grappler. He is high level, extreme high level. Everybody's going to say, oh, well, Sean Brady was able to submit Craig Jones. That was in a rule set that did not allow leg locks, leg entanglements, things of that nature that Craig Jones really likes to make use of and take advantage of. And this is MMA. This is a far different game than just pure grappling. And even if it was just pure grappling, I would still give the edge to Gilbert Burns, the ADCC champion. That is like one of the pinnacles of grappling that you can compete in. And Gilbert Burns has done that for pretty much his entire life. He's competed in grappling before making that transition to MMA. So, Gilbert Burns, I think people are really getting carried away with him being on a 2-fight losing streak. The Bilal Muhammad fight, he instantly got injured in the first round because he landed awkwardly on a takedown attempt on Bilal Muhammad. So he was compromised for the rest of the fight because I believe his forearm was broken and maybe his shoulder was also torn. He had some pretty significant injuries that were not caused by Bilal Muhammad in that fight that he made it to a decision loss for. So he made it even through to the end of the fight. Bilal couldn't even finish him, even though he was significantly compromised. Jack Della Maddalena, he lost to this past March. As much as I love JDM, as much as of a huge JDM stan that I am, it was not a fluke. It was a well-timed knee. It was practiced and planned for and all that. But I still have to also admit, Gilbert Burns was about to comfortably win that fight. It was like last few minutes, he managed to pull it out, time it perfectly, get the win. But had it went to the scorecards like it was about to, comfortable Gilbert Burns win. So I'm not putting too much stock in those two losses. And before that, he made quick work of Masvidal, choked out Neil Magny, lost to Hamzat, but made it Hamzat's closest fight he had. Had a grappling loss, but then beat Stephen Thompson easily, lost to Kamaru Usman 2021. No shame in that. So the guy's top-level competition, been facing it his entire life. He's getting up there in age. He's 38. That's another knock against him, but I don't think it's going to be a big difference because Sean Brady, though he has the edge in the youth department, that's about it. He's 31, so there's a 7-year difference there, but I don't think it's going to be enough to negate the other advantages. Burns has the power. Burns has the grappling. Burns may not be the more technical striker, but the technical striker can easily be beaten up by the more powerful guy, and they're going to feel every single shot that comes through. And with how Kelvin Gastelum has been looking in like the past, 5 years of Kelvin Gastelum's career, I'm not really putting too much stock into that being Sean Brady's most recent win since December of last year, because before that, it was a standing TKO he endured against Bilal Muhammad 2 years ago. So also a long period of inactivity for Sean Brady. I don't even have to tell you how I feel about anybody in their rabid-ass mind getting standing TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad of all people. Because do you want to know, before that happened, when the last time Bilal Muhammad finished somebody was? Before that, the last time Bilal Muhammad had finished somebody was in 2019. So from 2019 until 2022, when that fight happened, Bilal Muhammad had never finished anybody, especially in the UFC. So that is just absolutely disgusting for that to happen to Sean Brady, and it's almost downright fucking inexcusable, if I'm being quite frank with you. So, yeah, Jake Matthews, that was Michael Chiesa in 2021. I don't need to tell you how I feel about beating Michael Chiesa in 2021, Matthews in 2021. Other than that, yeah, 2020 is the last time that he fought anybody of note. And 2020 was also when he entered into 2019 was when he entered into the UFC. So he's been hanging around for a little while. For whatever reason, had some inactivity, has fought some decent names, but really just beat up old people and guys who are kind of always hanging around that proverbial top 30, but never cracking the top 15. And especially if I'm getting Burns at such heavy plus money at plus 154, that's how I got to roll, is with Gilbert Burns money line. So what do you got?
So, like you said, there's levels to this, and a lot of the times we're looking at the young guy trying to break through, and then the older guy, like he says, this is why I'm ranked and you're not, and he comes out and beats him. Well, when there's this age difference, but they're both ranked, it probably turns out 70% of the time the win is going to the younger fighter. Both will want to take it to the ground, so I'll come back to that later. I think that a sub bet is pretty live. Remember also, this is a 5-round fight, so I think that does change things. Burns, he looked hesitant in that fight against JDM, and he was getting pieced up by him too. And I just think Brady's going to be able to take advantage of him. It doesn't look like Burns wants to throw. He just wants to take it to the ground and grapple and try to get the sub that way. JDM was able to catch him and put him away. That's why I was thinking about taking Sean Brady with the sub, but Burns' strike defense is just, it scares me. How little he throws and how much punishment he does take. Bets and handles are completely even on this, which you rarely ever see. There's no sharp money at all coming in on this fight. 53% of money on Brady, 47% on Burns, so it's just about split. I'd say there's a slight lean for Vegas onto Burns, but really you could really call this just a draw or a wash. Right now you can get just the sub, so either one of them to get the sub, Brady or Burns. You can get just this fight to end in a sub at plus 450, which I thought, damn, for a 5-round fight, that's kind of live. Like, I like that quite a bit. I think I'm going to take Brady just because of the age, and he's rising, and I just think that we keep seeing holes in Burns that I think are exploitable.
Are you taking the plus 450 anytime sub?
I might write like an article on it. For okay. The show, I'm going to just put Sean Brady money line just to play it safe, but that 450 sub prop, I like that a lot.
What can I get if I do Burns KO TKO at plus 4? and Burns sub at +8 if I do a double on those.
All right, so the Gilbert Burns KO and sub is +275.
I'll do that as the official prediction. And then when it comes to Haymaker, I got to try to figure out what the hell I want to do for Haymaker. But maybe I'll just do that anytime sub for the Haymaker.
That's nice. That's nice, isn't it? Then you don't even have to pick a side.
Right.
Because both these guys want to take it to the ground.
Right. And I think it will be a grappling match for sure.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm not really getting much to go off of. I don't feel like bringing out the old Androsh KO TKO again, even though it's at +550. I don't really feel like dragging that one out.
Yeah.
I don't feel so strongly about Dos Santos Lima that I want to say something. I don't feel so strongly about Peak Ash Moose that I want to say something. Same with Garcia Nelson. I mean, I already said Garcia KO decision, I think, but like I don't want to also like double up or triple up on that with a Haymaker. So yeah, I think my Haymaker would just be that anytime sub at the +450.
I like it, man.
I'm doing that for Haymaker, and then plus getting +227, whatever you said it was for Burns by KO, TKO, or sub at that point. Because if it goes to a decision, yeah, I could see Burns winning the decision also, but I think somebody's getting finished in 5 rounds between the two. Somebody's getting finished. So I'll cover all my bases there and try to make us profitable, since for the past 2 weeks we've been doing UFC. We hit on a huge Mearshart sub that was like plus something ridiculous, I forget. Mm-hmm. And then before that, we hit on the DDP sub, which was like +600. So
yeah, stupid. If we make it 3 in a row, that'll be insane. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We got UFC Noche coming up next week, giving away a signed pair of Merab Dvalishvili fight shorts. If that video gets to 1,000 views and Merab wins, all you have to do is just comment on the video what round you think that Merab wins. Round 5 or a decision. Just let us know in the comments, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace, guys.
Peace.
Better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.